Okay, we're live now. We are in the open space of the office, so Steph is here. There's the windows. You're not in it yet? Oh, there you can wave now.
Who are you high-fiving?
These are our impact managers. They're working. There's the rest of the office. And, okay, back to Stephanie. So, we're going to do a Wisdom Wednesday, kind of like the other interviews I've done with core members at their school. But I have a couple different questions for Steph today since she has completed her year and you can have a little more time to reflect and everything. So first, just maybe, introduce yourself again, but like what school were you at as a reminder? What grade did you work with most? And then we'll get started.
Yeah, I just finished up my year of service serving at Skinner Middle School. I was in 6th grade math classes and one science class.
Okay, that's what I did, was 6th grade math and science. And her impact manager was Tony over there. Oh, he's working now.
High-fiving himself.
High-fiving himself. Yeah, that's Tony. I should have asked, describe your impact manager in 3 words, but instead, describe your year in 3 words. How would you describe it?
I would describe it as challenging, introspective, and I also think of students.
Yeah. How would you describe those students? Silly, tough, funny?
Students can be really silly.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to remind yourself. You have to remind yourself like the good things about the students, but I don't know. They're also just like human beings, just like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they can be challenging to work with, but I always find that it's the good moments that you have with them that are like the most rewarding.
Yeah. And what would you say was like different than you expected about your core year? Like what surprised you the most?
I think the most surprising thing that I didn't expect was to see the progress that I have with my students. Even like in the middle of the year, just seeing like how much that they've grown, not just like academically, but just as like people. I don't know, you start to see like some of the goals that you've made with them are like starting to like really like sink in, change is starting to happen, but I think like even towards the end of the year, like just seeing like again like the impact of my relationship with them, like how much they've changed is really was really surprising to me.
Yeah. And I was just trying to say you have to speak a little louder. It was quiet in here when we started, but now they're like super loud. So sorry if that's distracting to anybody. And then you said your year challenging was one of the words. So what like was one of the challenges you overcame or something you worked on?
I think for me, patience was something I really had to work on. Like I thought I was like a pretty patient person. Like I thought I had like a pretty high tolerance for that, but I think, like you're going to be working long hours. You're spending time with these kids, like 10 hours a day.
Yeah, they start to really feel like your kids.
And especially at the end of the day when you have to do tutoring, like your school day isn't done when the bell rings, even though you think it is. I really had to learn kind of, again, to remind myself that they're people and that they're kids, they're growing up. Mm-hmm. They have a ton of energy. One of the things that frustrated me was like, trying to get them to work, and like I worked with middle schoolers, so they still had like a ton of energy.
Yeah. All the time.
At the end of the day. And so like getting them, to like do a problem or like finish an assignment was extremely hard, and I definitely like lost my cool a few times, but I think like wanting to kind of like relinquish that control and kind of learn how to work with these kids by like observing my teammates. Mm-hmm. I think it like really astounded me how much patience they had, but also like they really incorporated like working with the kids, like having fun and kind of like relating to them. That's where I figured like that was the key to like that kind of compromise where you're like, you know, chatting with them, like
allowing
having fun.
Yeah,
allowing some fun, and then kind of like bringing it back into, okay, now let's do a problem, you know, let's finish up this assignment, and then we can like, you know, have a little break, or like, you know, do something fun. Like finding that compromise between the two really, really helped.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's good to be honest about that if sometimes you did lose your cool, and your kids, as long as you've built that relationship with them, are usually pretty forgiving because they've had meltdowns. They're in middle school. And if you're there to support them when they just totally lose it, they're usually pretty forgiving. If you're tired and you're like, we've just got to do this, come on.
And it's, again, surprising how much energy they had, like, in comparison to us. It was just like, oh my god, like, they're not tired yet. Really you have to like make them do physical activity before they like tire out and like run around or something.
We always started off with like a warm-up like that, or we would like pass the ball around or something while we were doing a warm-up question before we got down to like tutoring.
Yeah, so there was one or two times, and I shouldn't have done that. I was like, okay, like, you seem like I have a lot of energy, like go run up and down the hallway. And he did a few times, and other kids joined him, and that really did tire them out, and then they came back in and worked. It was fine. Yeah, it was totally fine.
So yeah, you've got to get creative and find ways to create an environment for them. So so that was like a challenging thing. What's one of your like favorite memories, or when you think of the year, like what do you think of?
One of the first things that really popped into my mind was just like after school, right after school, like for me it was like in between the school ending and tutoring, was just like laughing with the kids outside and like joking, like at least for us, like the middle schoolers aren't as like, I mean, some of them are kind of like self-conscious at that point, but some of them like still are kind of carefree and like will do whatever they want. So like they're always like like we had some kids who were always like dancing. I don't know, I guess I'm not like hip enough anymore where I'm like, I don't know what they're doing, but they would do some like dancing game outside. I don't know, just like laughing and making jokes with them. They were always like running around and screaming. It was fun. It was a good time. But I don't know, anytime with my team we would have like just, I don't know, sessions of like, you know, venting or, you know, joking around. It was really fun. We had a great team this past year at Skinner, so shout out.
And then, I mean, this kind of leads into it, but just tell me more about working with your middle schoolers and anything that surprised you about middle schoolers, or just some things you learned, tips that you learned on how to work with them. I mean, you talked about it a little, but anything else on middle school? It's its own beast.
Yeah, again, I worked with 6th graders, and I think they were in, at least in my opinion, I think they're in that weird in-between where they're still like kind of carefree, you know, still pursuing like whatever like their passion is. And that was kind of surprising to me, actually. Like a lot of kids were still really into drawing and reading and math. So obviously like kids really passionate about sports. And so like they still kind of maintain that kind of like they're really interested in pursuing that, but then there's still that other side of where they are like approaching like puberty and like they're middle schoolers, so they're kind of also in that period of their life where they're really self-conscious and kind of like learning how to socialize like with other kids. So I think that's something like I didn't know. Like the 6th graders were kind of like, again, like in that weird in between of like elementary school and like approaching middle school. So
well, and they try to be tough, but that's when, I guess, like I said, they'll have a meltdown. Yeah. And so I saw every single one of my boys cry that year at some point. Yeah. Because like they're trying to be tough, but then they're still kids. Yeah, things show that, you know, affect them, and they just need someone to tell them it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think Oh yeah, that was like another thing that surprised me. There was like middle second semester where, I mean, this has happened before, but like kids are coming up to you and they're like, hey, like, can I talk to you about something? I think that's what also kind of surprised me, where I was like, well, if I wasn't here, like that day, like who would have they have asked? I mean, of course, like maybe like another city or something, or like hopefully like another adult, but I don't know, just because like we're there all the time with them, it's kind of it was kind of, again, interesting to see like how comfortable they were enough to like come up and like ask for help with something like extremely serious.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we operate on the near peer model, is because they can see you as a role model that's not that adult figure, even though you are, and so there is just a really unique level of trust that you can't really like replicate in other roles. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're also in that weird in between position where we are sort of authority figures, but also are able to just like really get to know the kids on a personal level.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, unfortunately, like teachers just
don't always have the time,
they just don't have the
even
time
if they have the interest.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you want people to know, or that you like think they should know coming in to be prepared?
Yeah, a silly thing. I'm gonna mention it.
Okay. Tell your story.
I mean, people think that kids love Cheetos and Takis, but let me tell you, these 6th graders that I had also really loved fruit, because I would bring snacks for myself, and then they would always want my blueberries or my grapes or my oranges. So, pro tip, they will eat fruit, not just hot Cheetos.
Well, because you were hoping to keep your food to yourself, right?
I was like,
but
they're not going to eat it.
Because that's the number one, is like, they always want your snacks.
Yeah, they also like raisins too. I had some kids who like really, really wanted like one of my teammates' raisins, so that was interesting. So, yeah, random fact.
Any other ones about Severe?
Not that I can think of, but I mean, I can always post them later.
Okay. And if people have questions, you can always answer them. You're literally here for that. So ask Stephanie anything you want in an email or in the Facebook group so that other people can see the answer. Or comment here later and you can answer it then. But other than that, bye. Oh yeah, now they're quiet. Okay.